What's going on, baseball fans? How are we doing? So my original free agent predictions from a few months ago, Corey Seager signing with the New York Yankees. Marcus Semien signing with the Seattle Mariners. Marcus Stroman signing with the LA Angels. Kevin Gausman signing with the San Francisco Giants. Javier Baez signing with the LA Angels.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Haven't gone so hot, but with the lockout, I've been given a second chance. Let's see if these predictions go any better. Oh boy, let's get to it. Before I get started, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the whatever button, hit all the buttons. Starting off my list at number 30, I have Andrew Chafin signing with the Detroit Tigers. I have really liked what the Tigers have done so far this offseason, adding Javier Baez, adding Eduardo Rodriguez. I feel like they could use another bullpen arm. Andrew Chafin, a veteran lefty, I think would be a great addition for this bullpen. Take a look at his numbers from last year. Over 71 games, he had a 1.83 ERA. The FIP was a little higher at 3.37, but that's still pretty good. Andrew Chafin, I think, would be a good veteran presence for this bullpen. The bullpen roles to me are still a little up in the air. Gregory Soto is the closer as of right now, but I'm not going to lie. Gregory Soto scares me a little bit. Overall, last year, he had a 3.39 ERA, but that FIP of 1.14 is higher. And taking a look at the walks per nine, he did strike out over 10 guys per nine, but he walked over 5.5 guys per nine. I don't like that for a closer. To me, I think bringing someone in like Andrew Chafin would be good insurance. To me, for the Tigers, this would be a great addition. Coming in at number 29, I have Ryan Tepera signing with the St. Louis Cardinals. I think the St. Louis Cardinals are going to be a dangerous team next year, but I do think they could use another reliever in that bullpen, and Ryan Tepera, to me, would be a great fit. Take a look at the numbers he had last year. 65 games, a 2.79 ERA, a 2.56 FIP, 12 strikeouts per nine. But it's not just the good numbers that make me think he would be a good fit. It's the type of pitcher that he is as well. Taking a look at Ryan Tepera's soft contact percentage from last year, he had a 21% soft contact percentage last year, and among qualified relievers, that ranked 24th overall. Ryan Tepera, that would go very well with this very good defense behind him. Ryan Tepera, I think, would be a great fit for the St. Louis Cardinals bullpen. At number 28, I think Collin McHugh signs with the Philadelphia Phillies. Collin McHugh had a heck of a season out of the Rays bullpen last year. Look at these numbers overall. He had 37 games, 7 of those were starts, more of an opener kind of a guy, but a 1.55 ERA over 64 innings. He had overall a 2.12 FIP, 10 strikeouts per nine, under a half a home run per nine, 1.7 walks per nine. Collin McHugh was quietly one of the better relief pitchers in the game last year, and I think he would be a welcome addition to the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen. Why? Well, it seems like they always need some help out in that bullpen. They did add Corey Knebel, but I don't think they should stop there. Collin McHugh last year had one of the best sliders in the game. He had a negative 13 run value on Baseball Savant with his slider last year. That ranked extremely well. But if we're taking a look at the leaderboards last year when it came to the value of a bullpen slider, the Phillies last year, they ranked only 28th in terms of sliders last year out of their bullpen. Collin McHugh would be a welcome addition. I think he signs with the Phillies. At number 27, I have Kenley Jansen signing with the Toronto Blue Jays. Kenley Jansen had himself a good season last year as the Dodgers closer. Over 69 games, a 2.22 ERA, a 3.08 FIP, 11 strikeouts per nine. The 4.7 walks per nine do scare me a little bit, but overall was able to post good numbers. I think for the Toronto Blue Jays, this is a team that I think is really close to being very dangerous in that American League next year. I think, even though they did add someone like Yimi Garcia, and they have someone like Jordan Romano at the back end, and they got a couple other guys in here, I think a veteran presence like Kenley Jansen would be really good for this Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. For the Blue Jays to take a step forward, they're going to have to improve with their relief pitching. They ranked near the bottom in bullpens last year. They need to improve this bullpen. If they want to have championship aspirations, they have to improve the relief pitching. Kenley Jansen I think would be a welcome addition for this bullpen. At number 26, I have Tommy Pham signing with the Texas Rangers. Tommy Pham had a bit of bad luck last year. As you can see with the stat line, he only hit .229 and only had a slugging of .383. He did have a .340 on base, 15 homers, 49 RBIs, and 14 stolen bases, but that batting average and the slugging, they're looking a little low. However, if we go take a look at Tommy Pham on Baseball Savant, his expected batting average last year was a .258, and his expected slugging was a .443. Taking a look at his BABIP on Fangraphs, it was only a .280. That is really low. I think Tommy Pham, we can definitely expect some better numbers last year. Steamer is projecting him for a .258 average, .354 on base, a .429 slugging, 18 homers. I think Tommy Pham, we're going to see some better numbers last year, and I think the Texas Rangers would love to benefit from that. They already added Semien and Seager, but as of right now, in the outfield for left field, you have Nick Solak out there, but his numbers aren't really looking very inspiring. If we're to say his on base is also not looking all that great. And taking a look at Adolis Garcia, he did have 31 home runs last year, but he had a really bad second half last year. So I think a guy like Tommy Pham for the Texas Rangers would be a really nice fit. And also, one more thing with Tommy Pham, he had a 1.1 base running last year, and if we're taking a look at the Rangers overall, in base running, they only ranked 18th with a negative 1.8. So I think Tommy Pham, he checks off a lot of boxes for the Texas Rangers. They're trying to really take a step forward next year. I definitely think they could use some pitching as well. But Tommy Pham, if you're going to add another offensive player, especially one for the outfield, I think he would be a great fit for the Rangers. At number 25, I have Andrew McCutchen signing with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Taking a look at Andrew McCutchen's stat line last year, it was okay. A low batting average of .222, but he had 27 homers, 80 RBIs, a .334 on base, a .444 slugging. Those are some okay numbers overall. He still, I think, has something left in the tank. I still think he could be of some use to some teams that are, in contention for the playoffs. But in the end, I think Andrew McCutchen goes back to Pittsburgh. He ends his career where it started. He's 35 years old. I think that veteran presence of Andrew McCutchen, that would be good for the young guys in Pittsburgh. And hey, that's going to help put some butts in the seats in Pittsburgh as well. And also, taking a look here, there is this Twitter account. He goes by the name of Cole Jones. A lot of people think, this was kind of like one of those fake accounts, but this account actually tweeted out that Max Scherzer was going to the Mets 24 hours before it happened. So maybe there's something to it, but he says here, haven't heard a lot from the Pirates, but McCutchen wants to retire where it all began. They've been in touch, and both sides want a deal done. I got Andrew McCutchen going to the Pirates. Coming in at number 24, I have Danny Duffy signing with the LA Dodgers. He went to the Dodgers last year at the trade deadline, but he didn't pitch in the second half. He had an elbow injury, but he is saying he is good to go for next year. With Danny Duffy, I think for the Dodgers, he would be just some nice depth for them. He was actually pretty good last year in the 12 starts that he had, a 2.51 ERA. Taking a look at his FIP, it was a 3.40. So Danny Duffy, if healthy, can definitely bring something for the Dodgers. You just lost Max Scherzer. You're probably going to get Trevor Bauer back at some point, but I think, Danny Duffy, he's going to provide some good depth for you if he is healthy. So you know what, Danny Duffy, a California native, I think he goes back to the Dodgers. At number 23, I have Matthew Boyd signing with the Minnesota Twins. After a tough 2020 season, he actually did pretty good last year over 15 starts. He had a 3.89 ERA. Taking a look at the FIP, it was a respectable 4.10. However, Matthew Boyd went down in the second half with an elbow injury. He did end up getting surgery on it, not Tommy John surgery, but Matthew Boyd at some point next year, maybe June, July, should be back. And I think for the Twins, they need all the starting pitching they can get. I mean, really, all they've done right now for the starting pitching is Dylan Bundy. Sure, they got Bailey Ober and Joe Ryan last year for Nelson Cruz, but I think they need more. I think the Twins actually have a pretty decent team. Maybe they could be a sneaky team last year. If they get off to a good start, Matthew Boyd can come in at some point, and hey, that would just add to their starting rotation. I like Matthew Boyd to the Minnesota Twins. At number 22, I have Josh Harrison signing with the Chicago White Sox. Josh Harrison was pretty solid last last year for the most part. Hit 279, had a 341 on base, 60 RBIs, 9 stolen bases. Josh Harrison, yeah, he's not going to be, setting the world on fire, but he was a pretty solid player, and he can play multiple positions. Second base is his main position. But with Josh Harrison, I think he fits the Chicago White Sox pretty well. If you take a look right now, they have Leury Garcia penciled in for second base, but Leury Garcia, he is a pure utility guy. He can move all over. That is the value of Leury Garcia. But also, I think Josh Harrison fits into this lineup pretty well. If we take a look at the White Sox last year, when it came to contact percentage, they ranked 15th, 76.1 contact percentage last year. But if you take a look at Josh Harrison last year, in all of Major League Baseball, Josh Harrison ranked 24th overall with an 82.7 contact percentage. I think he would make the White Sox a better team. They could use a second baseman. Josh Harrison to the White Sox. At number 21, I have Michael Pineda signing with the Baltimore Orioles. Michael Pineda last year, he was up and down a little bit with injuries, but overall in 21 starts, he had a 3.62 ERA, a FIP of 4.21. I think Pineda would be a good fit with the Orioles. Why? Well, if you take a look at the rotation, John Means and Jordan Lyles, as of right now, are the only two guys in the rotation that pitched at least 140 innings last year. With Michael Pineda, I think if he can go to the Orioles, maybe a one-year deal, maybe reestablish some value. And for the Orioles, he brings them value because if he can provide you some innings, well, that can help bridge the gap to some of these younger guys that are going to be coming up from the minor leagues. And hey, if he has a pretty good first half, shows he's healthy, puts up some decent numbers, the Orioles can ship him off to a contender, maybe get a prospect or two out of it. Michael Pineda to the Orioles. At number 20, I have Jose Iglesias signing with the New York Yankees. Jose Iglesias last year, I guess, was okay with the bat. He hit 271, 9 home runs, but that's pretty much it with Jose Iglesias. What you're going to be getting with him is his glove. Despite last year, he had a really bad year defensively last year. He had negative 22 defensive runs saved and a negative 6.1 UZR. Those numbers compared to his norms, those are just not normal numbers. Jose Iglesias is usually pretty solid when it comes to the glove at shortstop. He did talk about his defense last year, said he wasn't playing on didn't feel like he was motivated last year. He wasn't playing on a good team with the Angels. Jose Iglesias, I think if he goes to a team like the Yankees, he's going to be more motivated. He would be their shortstop, or at least has a chance to be their shortstop. I think the route the Yankees should take, have a stopgap shortstop like Jose Iglesias, and then, see if Oswald Peraza can win the job out of spring training, or maybe come up later on, earlier in the year, and see if he can take over at short if Jose Iglesias isn't quite getting it done. But I think Iglesias would be a good short-term shortstop for the Yankees. At number 19, I have Tyler Anderson signing with the Colorado Rockies. Tyler Anderson last year, he actually pitched a lot of innings, 167 innings overall, over 31 starts. He was with Seattle in the second half of the season last year after coming over from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He did okay, a 7-11 record, a 4.53 ERA, taking a look at his FIP, a 4.52. So nothing amazing with Tyler Anderson, but he's going to give you innings, and that's why I think he would be a good fit with the Rockies. The team he was with for the first 4 years of his career. And at Coors Field, he's actually posted some pretty good numbers, a 4.12 ERA over 41 starts. I think for the Rockies, they could be a sneaky team next year. I think they need to make a couple of moves, but they had a good defense last year. Yes, they are losing Trevor Story, but they got some other guys that can fill in. If they can bring in another bat, that lineup could be pretty good. And I think for the starting pitching, the key for the starting pitching is they just need to get enough innings. Try and take the workload off of the bullpen. And I think Tyler Anderson can do that for you. He's shown he can pitch in Coors Field. He's had success with the Rockies. I say for Tyler Anderson, go back to the Rockies. Let's see if we can get the Rockies back to a winning record. At number 18, I have Eddie Rosario signing with the Milwaukee Brewers. The NLCS MVP definitely helped himself out for this offseason. He's going to get a few extra bucks because of that postseason performance. But Eddie Rosario, I think he would be a really good fit for the Milwaukee Brewers. But let's take a look at his numbers from last year first before we take a look at the Brewers. Hit 259, 14 homers, a 740 OPS. He really came alive in the postseason last year. But Eddie Rosario, his bread and butter, it's going to be against right-handed pitching. If you take a look at what he did against right-handers last year, had a 778 OPS compared to a 651 OPS against lefties. So for the Milwaukee Brewers, I think that actually fits pretty well. They brought in Hunter Renfroe to replace Avisail Garcia, so that is a right-handed power bat. With Eddie Rosario, that's going to be a lefty bat that would go alongside with him. As of right now, at designated hitter, they have Tyrone Taylor. Not really too much going on with Tyrone Taylor. I think Eddie Rosario, hey, winning player. Let's see if he can help the Brewers take that next step. At number 17, I have Joc Pederson re-signing with the Atlanta Braves. While Eddie Rosario, his World Series championship teammate, is going to the Brewers, I think Pederson stays with the Braves. I think Pederson fits the Braves better than Rosario. Rosario is more of a left fielder, while Pederson can play all three outfield positions. And when he came over to the Braves from the Cubs last year, he was really good. Taking a look at his numbers, he had 249, a 325 on base, a 428 slugging. I think he fits the Braves well. Taking a look at what they have right now in left field, you have Drew Waters projected for left field at the moment, but he didn't take that step forward like a lot of people thought he would last year. So I think bringing back Pederson makes a lot of sense for the Atlanta Braves. If Drew Waters can take that step forward, then great. But Pederson, he still brings a good left-handed bat. He can play all three outfield positions. I think he goes back to the Braves. At number 16, I have Zack Greinke signing with the Tampa Bay Rays. This might be one of the more oddball predictions on this list, but I think Greinke would be a good fit for the Rays. Now, Zack Greinke, he's not what he used to be, but last year, he was still a pretty good arm. Taking a look at his numbers, 29 starts, a 4.16 ERA. He had 171 innings. That's pretty much what Greinke's going to do for you now. He's going to be a durable arm that can give you innings. If you take a look at his FIP last year, it was not good, a 4.71 FIP. But taking a look at what it was in 2020, he had a 2.80 FIP in 2020, a 3.28 in 2019 with the Astros. Overall in 2019, a 3.22. I think Greinke, maybe he can go to the Rays and maybe they can help him get back on track. Greinke loves his analytics. The Rays love their analytics. And I think for the Rays, their starting pitching depth really showed last year. They're always using the openers. They love utilizing the bullpen. But I think if you can get some guys that can give you some innings in the starting rotation, I think that's only going to be a positive. They did bring in Corey Kluber, but Corey Kluber was limited last year to 16 starts because of injuries with his shoulder. So Greinke, at least with him, you're getting innings. Overall, I think the Rays have a pretty good looking rotation as is, but to me, if you can add some more innings, and you could always use Luis Patino in the bullpen as an opener. So I think Greinke, he really fits the Rays well. And also, one thing to take note of, Greinke back in 2018, here was his no-trade list. And there are a lot of teams on this no-trade list, and the Rays are not on it. So, hey, and Greinke as well, he lives in Orlando, Florida in the offseason, so he'd be pretty close to home. Zack Greinke to the Rays. At number 15, I have Jorge Soler signing with the Boston Red Sox. I think Jorge Soler with the Red Sox would be amazing. Taking a look at Jorge Soler, he had basically two different seasons last year. Overall, he hit 223 with 27 homers, a 316 on base, and a 432 slugging. But if you take a look at his two different seasons, he had 94 games with the Royals. He was terrible. He only hit 192, a 288 on base, a 370 slugging. But when he went to Atlanta, when he had more protection around him in that lineup, all of his numbers went up. He hit 269 with a 358 on base and a 524 slugging. He had more home runs in less games with the Braves, 33 RBIs. He was really good with the Braves. And I think coming to the Red Sox in this lineup, he's a lot of good bats around him, and I think he would fit really well, especially considering, with Hunter Renfroe now going to the Brewers, they could use another right-handed bat in this lineup. So with Jackie Bradley Jr. and Jarren Duran, it just adds a good right-handed bat into the mix. They have been connected with Seiya Suzuki. I don't think he ends up going to the Red Sox. That's my prediction as of right now. Stay tuned to see where I think he does go. But Jorge Soler as well, his bat would just fit perfectly for Fenway Park. This guy's a dead pull guy, just moonshots over the green monster. This also feels like a Heim Bloom kind of a move where if he if he doesn't end up getting a Seiya Suzuki, you can get Jorge Soler for cheaper. I'd imagine Jorge Soler, he's not going to cost anything, maybe 10 to 15 million per year. He did have the World Series MVP, but overall, I think Jorge Soler makes a lot of sense for the Red Sox. Jorge Soler, let's come to Boston. At number 14, I have Jonathon Villar signing with the Chicago Cubs. Jonathon Villar was okay last year, hit 249, 18 homers, 42 RBIs, a 322 on base, 416 slugging. Overall had a 738 OPS, but he did have 14 stolen bases, and he provides versatility in the infield. He can play third, second, short. He has even played in the outfield in his career, but I think Jonathon Villar would actually be a pretty good fit with the Chicago Cubs. Right now, they're going through this bit of a retool phase, and you got some guys in here like Frank Schwindel, Patrick Wisdom. They really broke out last year. What if they take a step back this coming year? You could have someone like a Jonathon Villar, a veteran presence here, where he has that versatility. You can plug him in, where you need him. And also with the Chicago Cubs, they were not a very good base running team last year. They only ranked 26th in base running, while Jonathon Villar, like I said, he had the 14 stolen bases, but he had a 3.6 base running. That's pretty good. I have Jonathon Villar signing with the Cubs. At number 13, I have Yusei Kikuchi signing with the New York Mets. Yusei Kikuchi had basically 2 different seasons last year, kind of like Jorge Soler earlier. Yusei Kikuchi overall last year had a 4.41 ERA over 29 starts, a FIP of 4.61. But if you take a look at his numbers in the first half of the season and the second half of the season, first half, he had a 3.48 ERA over 16 starts, and in the second half, he had a 5.9 ERA. So something just went wackadoodle in the second half for him. But with Yusei Kikuchi, the one thing you're going to get some innings out of him. 29 starts last year, 157 innings. And with the Mets, they could use a lefty in this rotation. With Yusei Kikuchi, sure, he had, 2 different tails going on last year. But this is a guy, he's got a hard fastball. He's got decent off-speed stuff. And I think that kind of a lefty pitcher would be a welcome addition in this rotation. Yes, Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, I don't think I've even seen a better 1-2 punch before, but deGrom, you never know what you're going to have with him health-wise. Max Scherzer, he's going to be fine, but remember he had the dead arm last year. Taijuan Walker, another guy that had a bad second half last year. Carlos Carrasco, bit of a health risk. Tyler McGill, can he take a step forward next year? I think with a Yusei Kikuchi, it's just going to be some good starting pitching depth that I think the Mets need. It really showed last year with them. Yusei Kikuchi to the New York Mets. At number 12, I have Seiya Suzuki signing with the San Francisco Giants. This could be the next Japanese star to come over to America. He had good numbers last year with the Hiroshima Carp. If you take a look, he had 317, a 433 on base, a 636 slugging, 38 homers, 88 RBIs. But with Fangraphs, if you take a look at the Zips projections for Seiya Suzuki, they actually have his projections over the next 5 years. But for next year, they have him hitting 287 with a 351 on base, 23 homers, 85 RBIs. Those are pretty solid numbers. And I think right now the San Francisco Giants, they could use more of a bopper in that lineup. With Seiya Suzuki, he is unknown, but why not take the chance on him? He's probably going to cost you anywhere from, 40 to 60 million overall. That sounds like a San Francisco Giants kind of a contract. As of right now, you have Lamont Wade Jr. in left field. He was really good as more of like a part-time player last year, coming off of the bench, getting clutch hits, and they could also use a right-handed bat. To me, I think Seiya Suzuki makes a lot of sense for the Giants to take a risk on him. Let's have Seiya Suzuki go to the Giants. At number 11, I have Nelson Cruz signing with the San Diego Padres. Nelson Cruz just keeps getting older and older, but this guy just continues to rake at the plate. Last year, hit 265, 32 homers, 86 RBIs, and 832 OPS between the Rays and the Twins. Nelson Cruz, I think, would be a really good fit for the Padres, especially now that it's looking like we're going to have a designated hitter in the National League. As of right now for DH, they have Jerickson Profar slated there. Nelson Cruz would just slide right in, but I think he would be a welcome addition to this lineup. I mean, taking a look at the lineup, you got some guys here, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado, but really last year, other than those 3 guys, not a lot of guys stepped up for them. And if you take a look at the Padres, where they ranked in slugging percentage last year, they only ranked 21st in slugging percentage. And Nelson Cruz last year, a 497 slugging, while the Padres were only averaging a 401 slugging. To me, me, Nelson Cruz, he makes a lot of sense for the Padres. They were actually connected with each other this offseason at one point. I think Nelson Cruz ends up making his way to San Diego. At number 10, I have Anthony Rizzo re-signing with the New York Yankees. Anthony Rizzo went to the Yankees at the trade deadline last year. He got off to a hot start, ended up getting COVID, and it seemed like he never fully got himself back on track after that. But overall, a pretty decent season last year between the Cubs and the Yankees. Hit 248, a 344 on base, a 440 slugging, 22 homers, 61 RBIs. He's going to give you good defense at first. I think with the Yankees, there's a lot of Yankee fans out there. They're wanting Matt Olson, but you know what? Me personally, I don't think they should do it because most likely it's going to take Oswald Peraza. I think the Yankees should hang on to Oswald Peraza, and it seems like the Yankees might want to hang on to him too. If they haven't given him up now, I mean, are they ever going to give him up? I don't know. You know how the Yankees are. They always want to hang on to these top prospects, and with Oswald Peraza, he could be a good shortstop for them. I know they have Anthony Volpe, but he hasn't gone above A-ball yet. You don't know what you're going to get with him. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Keep Oswald Peraza. Bring back Rizzo. He's not going to cost you a lot. I think overall, Anthony Rizzo, he's going to be continue to be a good fit with the Yankees. At number 9, I think Nick Castellanos signs with the Miami Marlins. It's time for the Marlins to make a move and go get a big bat like Nick Castellanos, especially now that you're going to have the designated hitter. He fits perfectly, so you're not going to have to worry about his defense out there. His bat will play perfectly into this Marlins lineup. They absolutely need a bat like this. Taking a look at his numbers last year, hit 309, 34 homers, 100 RBIs, a 362 on base, a 576 slugging. Sure, he tends to chase a little bit at the plate, but overall, I mean, a 939 OPS, those are good numbers, and the Marlins really need that. If you take a look at where they ranked in slugging percentage last year, only 29th overall with a 372 slugging. Taking a look at the WRC Plus, didn't rank well there either. 27th in WRC Plus last year. They really need a bat. And just one more look here at another stat. Fangraphs offense, they were 28th overall. They need Nick Castellanos. I mean, sure, there are, maybe cheaper bats out there, but Nick Castellanos, come on. You got to go big with him. He's a Florida native. Bring him to Miami. I think it just makes a lot of sense. At number 8, I have Michael Conforto signing with the Colorado Rockies. Michael Conforto had himself a down year last year, only hit 232, 14 homers, a 384 slugging. He did have a 344 on base percentage, so that's still looking pretty good with Conforto. It just seemed like he got a bit out of whack last year, and I think going to Colorado, going to play in Coors Field, what better place to help you revitalize that bat? Michael Conforto, could he maybe sign a one-year deal? That's very possible, but I think the Rockies could definitely take advantage of something like that. Earlier, I mentioned when I said Tyler Anderson is going to go to the Rockies, I was saying that if the Rockies could add another bat, I think this lineup could be pretty good. Overall, they have a really good defense, but one more bat could maybe take this lineup to the next level. As of right now, you have Raimel Tapia in right field. I mean, this is a guy who's going to give you a lot of speed, but he only had a 372 slugging last year. If Conforto can get back to his old ways, this lineup could be really good. I like Michael Conforto to go to the Rockies on a 1, maybe a 2-year deal. At number 7, I have Kyle Schwarber signing with the Philadelphia Phillies. Kyle Schwarber was awesome for the Red Sox last year. He did miss a month when he was with the Nationals before getting traded to the Red Sox, but overall had himself a good season. If he had a full season, Schwarber, I mean, he could have been a 4.5 win player last year. Definitely could have had 40 home runs if he played a full season. But overall, good numbers. Hit 266, 32 homers, 71 RBIs, a 374 on base, a 554 slugging. These are really good numbers. And Kyle Schwarber, I mean, having those kind of numbers, especially after the year he had in 2020 over those 59 games, only hit 188 that year. Are you kidding me? Kyle Schwarber really revitalized his career last year, especially after coming to the Red Sox. And I think he fits the Phillies really well. If we take a look at the Phillies right now, I mean, you have some good bats in this lineup. Bryce Harper, the MVP. Rhys Hoskins is going to come back. But I feel like they need another bat, and I think they need one atop this lineup. If we go take a look last year, in the number 1 and number 2 spots in the lineup, when it came to on-base percentage, the Phillies ranked only 29th. Kyle Schwarber last year had a 374 on base. If you go take a look at his splits from last year, if you take a look at where he batted in the lineup, in the number 2 spot in the lineup, whenever he batted second, he had a 465 on base. Batting leadoff, he had a 385 on base. To me, he fits this lineup really well. And also, the guy that helped him get his career back on track with the Nationals, Kevin Long, the hitting coach for the Nationals at the time, and he is now the hitting coach for the Phillies. This just makes too much sense. Kyle Schwarber, it's time to get him in a Phillies uniform. At number 6, I have Clayton Kershaw signing with the Texas Rangers. Clayton Kershaw, he's dealt with the injury bug over the last few years, but overall in 22 starts last year, he had good numbers. A 3.55 ERA, 144 strikeouts over 121 and 2/3 innings. Taking a look at his FIP, a 3.00 FIP last year, 10 strikeouts per 9, only gave up a home run per 9, 1.5 walks per 9. Kershaw, when healthy, is still going to be one of the better pitchers in the game. To me, I think this is exactly what the Texas Rangers need. Adding Corey Seager, adding Marcus Semien this offseason. They spent big bucks with the offense, but I think they need one more thing, and that's a pitcher. Clayton Kershaw, Texas native, went to high school in Texas, lives in Texas in the offseason. I'm sorry, I do like the addition of Jon Gray, but Jon Gray, if I'm running the Rangers, I don't want Jon Gray as my opening day starter. I want Clayton Kershaw as my opening day starter. Man, oh man, to me, it's not just the numbers that he's going to bring to the table. It's the leadership. It's the veteran experience that he's going to be bringing to this Texas Rangers team. The organization, they want to start building a winning culture. Clayton Kershaw, he will bring that. I love the idea of Clayton Kershaw to the Rangers, and I think it's going to happen. At number 5, I have Carlos Rodon signing with the Detroit Tigers. Carlos Rodon, when healthy last year, was extremely good. He had a 5.0 wins above replacement in only 24 starts. This guy was on top of his game. Probably would have won the Cy Young if he pitched a full season. He had 185 strikeouts over 132 and 2/3 innings. That came out to around 12.5 strikeouts per 9. Over 24 starts, he still finished 5th in the Cy Young voting. He is really good. The problem is the health. He needs to stay healthy, and that is going to be the holdup with Carlos Rodon in this offseason, where Scott Boras, his agent, they're looking for a multi-year deal. It's looking like maybe teams only want to give him a 1-year deal, kind of like a prove-it kind of a deal. But I think if there was a team willing to give him a multi-year deal, I think it would be the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers, they've been spending some money this offseason, bringing in Javier Baez and Eduardo Rodriguez, and I think bringing Carlos Rodon in, I mean, to me, you're going in. You're going in for contention now. Why not bring in someone like Carlos Rodon? You got 3 young guys in Mize, Skubal, Manning in this rotation. Eduardo Rodriguez is currently listed as your ace. You have Tyler Alexander at the back end. With Tyler Alexander, that's a guy, if you wanted to, you could put him in long relief. You could put him, middle relief, somewhere like that. Maybe be like an opener. But speaking of opener, that's where I think with Carlos Rodon, I think he makes sense. If you take a look here, Chris Fetter is their pitching coach. Chris Fetter is, I think, a really underrated pitching coach in this game. He brings not just like an old school approach, but he brings a new school approach too. He's big on analytics, but while also keeping in mind of the old school ways too. I think that would be really good for someone like Carlos Rodon. I think they would be able to manage his innings really well. Maybe he can help him with, something mechanically that can keep his shoulder healthy in the long run. I think Carlos Rodon makes a lot of sense for the Detroit Tigers. I think a lot of people, they might not be looking at the Tigers as a possible fit, but to me, I think if the Tigers are going in, why not go in more? Go after someone like Carlos Rodon. He's just sitting there, and if it is going to take a multi-year deal to bring him in, I mean, why not see if you can bring him in on maybe like a 3-4 year deal? I think Carlos Rodon, he signs with the Detroit Tigers. Coming in at number 4, I have Trevor Story signing with the LA Angels. Trevor Story last year had himself a bit of a down season compared to his usual numbers, but overall, a good season. Hit 251, 24 homers, 75 RBIs, 20 stolen bases, a 329 on base, a 471 slugging, and Trevor Story continued to play good defense at the shortstop position, had 9 defensive runs saved, and a 3.6 UZR. If you take a look at the Angels last year, when it came to shortstop defense, they rank dead last with a negative 1.4 defensive rating. I think Trevor Story, yes, we all think of the Angels. When it comes to the Angels, they need pitching, but they need a shortstop too. If you take a look, Tyler Wade is their current shortstop right now. Unless they think he's the answer, I don't know. But Trevor Story, if he's there for the taking, I think you go sign him. And, recent reports have said with Trevor Story that he doesn't want to move off of the shortstop position. There's been some teams that have been, making some calls about him to possibly play second. But I think with the Angels, if you can bring him in and you're going to keep him at short, I think he would definitely be interested in that. He'd be staying out west. I think Trevor Story, while yes, the Angels, they could always use some more starting pitching. They did add Noah Syndergaard, but as of right now, you have 6 guys projected for this rotation with Shohei Ohtani at the top. If he can stay healthy, that's always going to be good. They definitely could use some more depth in this starting rotation, but you need a good defense behind you, and I think Trevor Story, the defense that he'll bring at shortstop, I think it just makes a lot of sense. Trevor Story to the Angels. Coming in at number 3, I have Kris Bryant signing with the Seattle Mariners. After a bad 2020 season, he really bounced back last year with the Cubs and the Giants. Hit .265, 25 home runs, 73 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, a .353 on base, a .481 slugging. But most of all with Kris Bryant, not just a good bat, but he can practically play anywhere. He can play third, he can play left, he can play a little center, even right, he can go play first. Kris Bryant, very versatile, and I think he fits with the Mariners very well because of that versatility. As of right now, at third, you have Abraham Toro, but Abraham Toro, he could move. He could move to second. Adam Frazier could move somewhere. To me, if you put Kris Bryant out in left, Jake Fraley, this is a guy who I would love to see a full season out of Jake Fraley, but if you did bring in Bryant, you could stick him out there. There's a lot of places that Kris Bryant fits with this Mariners team, and I think the Mariners, they really need a bat. If you take a look, while the Mariners did have a very good clutch offense last year, their offense day-to-day was not very consistent. Overall, they only ranked 21st in offense last year with a negative 55.8. A bat like Kris Bryant is really going to help stabilize this lineup. And to me, he's going to bring just a winning attitude to the Seattle Mariners team. This is a Mariners team, an organization. They're looking to finally take that next step. I think Kris Bryant helps you get to that next step. Kris Bryant to the Mariners. At number 2, I have Freddie Freeman re-signing with the Atlanta Braves. This just needs to happen. It just makes too much sense. This guy needs to be with the Braves for the rest of his career. But overall, with Freddie Freeman, he's going to give you just solid production in that lineup. Hit .300 last year, 31 homers, 83 RBIs, a .393 on base, a .503 slugging. He's going to give you good defense at first base. I mean, it's just a no-brainer to bring this guy back. If the Braves are going to spend money, this is the guy you want to spend that money on. Sure, he's 32 years old. If you end up re-signing him to a 6, maybe a 7-year deal until he's right around 38, 40 years old, I just think it makes a lot of sense. And with Freddie Freeman, if you are worried about how he's going to be defensively when he is older, at least now you have the designated hitter spot. So if Freeman, over the next few years or whatever it may be, have him have some time at designated hitter. See if you can kind of limit the wear and tear on his body. There are some other teams out there that could definitely get Freeman. You got the Dodgers, you got the Yankees that could go after him. But I think in the end, because also the Braves, they don't have another guy that can really just step in, to really replace that production with Freddie Freeman. To me, this just makes way too much sense. Freddie Freeman back to the Braves. And last but not least, at number 1, I have Carlos Correa signing with the Washington Nationals. To me, I think a team that is going to sign Carlos Correa is going to be an under-the-radar team, a team that we haven't really been hearing about. We've been hearing about the Cubs. We've been hearing about the Yankees, maybe going back to the Astros. We've even heard the Red Sox a little bit here and there. But I think a team that ends up signing Correa is going to swoop in, and it's going to be a mystery team. I think that mystery team will be the Washington Nationals. Before I get to the fit, Carlos Correa last year, I think had his best season overall. Hit .279, 26 homers, 92 RBIs, and .850 OPS. Really good defense at shortstop. To me, he fits perfectly with this Nationals team. Now, I know a lot of people out there are saying, well, why the Nationals? Aren't they going to be, retooling, rebuilding here? Well, Why can't you retool and rebuild with Carlos Correa? You got Juan Soto there, and yes, you can still get him signed up to a very long-term extension as well. You can fit both of those contracts in your payroll. Don't forget, you have Patrick Corbin coming off the books here in a couple of years, so that's going to help. To me, you don't have a shortstop. Who's your shortstop? You traded away Trey Turner. You have Alcides Escobar, who is 35 years old, projected for shortstop right now. You got no prospects that are going to be ready anytime soon for the shortstop position. Don't get me wrong, I like Brady House, but he's not going to be up in the major leagues for a while, and who knows if he even stays at shortstop. To me, Carlos Correa, this is a shortstop that you can build around, you can retool with over the next few years. This Nationals team is still pretty good, in my opinion. With Carlos Correa in this lineup, that lineup is now still looking pretty good. Him and Juan Soto in the middle of that order. The starting pitching, you're still going to have to address, but don't forget, you do have someone like Cade Cavalli who will be coming up most likely next year. I don't think this Nationals team is really far off. I think with Carlos Correa, if he's looking for a long-term deal, if that's what him and his new agent Scott Boras are looking for, well then who better to turn to than the Nationals? The Nationals have plenty of players that are Scott Boras clients. So to me, it makes a lot of sense. Carlos Correa will sign with the Washington Nationals. So those are my free agent predictions for after the lockout. Tell me what you think down below. Do you think I'm going to get any of these right? Do you think I'm going to get any of them wrong? Do you think I'm going to get all of them wrong? That is very possible. But that is all I have for right now, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.